Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Hardware Podcast. My name's Jackson Danner alongside my good friend Omar Borja. Today we're going to be breaking down a preview of the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. All-star game, one of Omar's favorites that takes place in the Rose Bowl in beautiful Pasadena. So Omar, how you doing? Are you excited for this Saturday? How are you feeling on this conference championship weekend?
I'm kind of nervous, I mean, this Eagles team looks good as a Niners fan, but we'll see what happens. If anything, I can just say I just tell people because the people in my church know I'm a Niners fan. I wore my Garoppolo jersey to troll the Cowboys fans. They know I'm a Niners fan, so I'll just say I don't care that much. I care more about the USFL and just like leave it at that. I'll probably tell them that if the Niners lose. So that'll be that.
And if the Niners win,
Um, Yeah, same thing. Same thing. Just keep that in
same
my
thing. I
heart.
still care about the USFL
Yeah,
more.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for general season. I'm waiting to get in formation for the generals.
You
In
know what?
formation.
Oh my gosh. All right. Man, we're already off script and we're like 30 seconds in. I will say a little interesting tidbit I found out today. The 49ers are the only team in the NFC to not have played a road playoff game in Philadelphia. This will be their first. Every other team in the NFC has. I found that to be very interesting.
That's crazy because like I think to myself, oh, what about the Panthers? And it's like,
That's funny you said that because that was the first team I thought of too. I was like,
it's
geez, the
like
Panthers have? Like, all right,
that's
I guess.
crazy.
That's
Wow.
funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what
man.
are the odds? I need
Yeah,
like some sort of like flow chart to see like every single playoff matchup that's happened, like which ones we still need. I know the
we
Texans are like way far behind.
Texans have a lot of ground to make up. Absolutely. Jags are getting up there though. The Jaguars are making up a lot of ground. So absolutely, man. Well, we could go on and on about the NFL playoffs. Plenty of other people talking about that. Let's start breaking down this NFLPA Bowl. Omar, you want to tell us a little bit about the history of it and kind of how it came to be about?
Yeah, so I can't really tell how it came to be about, but I can tell you about its early years. The game started at the former home of the San Diego, sorry, Los Angeles Chargers when they moved to LA before SoFi was built. The game began, I think, 2012 at a Dignity Health Park. I think that's what the name is right now, Dignity Health Park out in Carson, California. Might I note also the home of the short-lived LA Wildcats. But that game started off there, and it's just another All-Star game. It started the exact year, yeah, 2012. I mean, you've had coaches like Dick Vermeil coaching the game, Tom Flores. And 20, keep in mind, this is in 2012. Like Tom Flores coached a football game in the year 2012. That's something I love about these All-Star games, particularly the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, because like they have familiar faces, like guys that guys that aren't coaching anymore. I mean, like Jim Zorn. Jim Zorn coached in 2017, didn't pull out the swinging gate like he did against the Giants back in like '09. And then this year, for the second straight year, Jeff Fisher's coaching, but something different on for one of the teams. I think it's the national team will have Eddie George coaching, a former, of course, member of the NFLPA playing for the Titans, but Tennessee State head
And
coach.
current Tennessee State head
Yeah,
coach.
exactly. Tennessee State head coach. So that's that. The NFLPA. Jackson can talk more about the events, but that happen with involving the NFLPA, which I think makes it unique compared to the other All Star games with how the NFLPA is involved because we know NFL execs are involved with the Senior Bowl and everything, and NFL coaching staffs, but it's not so much a coaching staffs here as the NFLPA engagement here. So just a great experience. It's at the Rose Bowl. I mean, I that's one of the reasons it's my third favorite All Star game behind the Shrine and the Hula. But just love it at the All Star game. I love it at the Rose Bowl. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is about the Collegiate Bowl on the book on the Collegiate Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of surprised as far as the quality. I don't want to say the quality of talent, but the level of involvement that the National Football League has in this. There are expected to be about 200 NFL scouts in the building, as well as reps from like the USFL, XFL, CFL, even the WWE are going to be present. 248 NFLPA Bowl alums were actually on active rosters at the beginning of the 2022 NFL season. So think about it. That's like almost 5 rosters worth, just short that are alumni of this all-star game. This is a very young all-star game, mind you, that hasn't had a lot of time to build up its reputation, and still they've managed to have a major impact on the NFL. So it's pretty cool to see that. We've seen guys that are like second round picks. I believe the Cowboys interception leader from this past year is an NFLPA Bowl alum. So lots of cool things to see, that these guys are not just, hopping around from practice squad to practice squad either, as you know, unfortunately do see with a lot of all-star games. These are guys that, like, they're going to go in and, like, you're going to hear their names when you're watching Red Zone on Sundays. Like, these guys are going to be difference makers. And it's pretty cool to see that it's not just the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl that have those impact players. So
I have my program from last year since I went to last year's game. So I have my program from last year, the 10-year anniversary team. There are some familiar names on that program of the 10-year anniversary team. So just again, like just guys that you'll see on Sunday in the NFL. Sundays in the fall, Sundays/Saturdays in the spring. So these are faces you'll see. And I got a good feeling about a lot of these guys that will be in this game. So I mean, I'm ready to kick off our discussion.
absolutely, man. Well, we will go ahead and start going over this roster. Omar, you want to start us off with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, of course. And I want to start with a guy that's already played in an All-Star game. I think I talked about him briefly for the Hula Bowl, Holton Ahlers. And again, the way I've said it since 2021, early 2021, our first All-Star game preview with the Hula Bowl, how like I think it's great that the Hula Bowl is a celebration of college football where it's like guys like Holton Ahlers who led East Carolina their first bowl bid in 7 years and first bowl appearance because COVID canceled the 2021 Military Bowl they're supposed to play in. But a guy like Holton Ahlers who led East Carolina ended their bowl drought, and a guy that grew up in Greenville, East Carolina. His dad was I think PA announcer. He was a PA announcer for the Pirates, and then he plays for his hometown school and just takes that program to new heights. Celebration of college football. Ahlers though proved that his appearance in the Hula Bowl is more than just a celebration, more than just a last hurrah, as he went 10 for 10 for 57 yards and had a 20-yard carry and was named the MVP of the Hula Bowl. So Ahlers showed great accuracy, obviously going 10 for 10, great decision making. He was quick to get the ball out of his hands on that 20-yard rush. It was on, I think, it was on a second or third and long. I know it was about 18 yards to go, but showed good escapability in the pocket. He stepped up, and then when he couldn't find anyone, he just ran for a first down to continue the drive and led to a. I got to figure out which team he was on. Whether it was he was led by led the Kai team to a touchdown drive. So I'm excited to see what Ahlers does more with NFL. There was NFL coaching the Hula Bowl. But I'm excited to see what he does with I guess even more NFL coaching. So Ahlers is my first quarterback to watch. If you didn't see him in the Hula Bowl, game's on YouTube already. I hope me saying that doesn't cause the game to be copyright stricken down from YouTube. But just rewatch it on YouTube.
Yeah, hopefully not there, Omar. Bold move there. I'm gonna go with my first quarterback. Gonna go with Tommy DeVito. He's actually a transfer from Syracuse that went to Illinois. Omar did not realize this. He ranked fourth nationally in completion percentage at 69.9%. Entering the ReliaQuest Bowl, obviously had lost to Mississippi State, right? Did rank 18th nationally in overall grade by PFF. PFF is something that, and maybe with same thing as quarterback rating, maybe like take it with a grain of salt. It's not like the gospel, so to speak, with it, but it's like, hey, you know what? It's something that it means something, right? So I just find DeVito to be an interesting prospect because you don't think of Illinois as like the guy to come out of and be a difference maker or even, add that much depth. But you know what? Neither did we think Brock Purdy out of Iowa State. So it's something to keep an eye on. And this is probably going to be some of the best receiving core he's had. Just the one in the NFLPA Bowl. So looking forward to seeing how he does. And you always want to see in these all-star games how quickly can you read the defenses, right? Because they are not that complicated. It is a very simplified offense and an even more simplified defense. So looking forward to seeing, hey, hopefully he can be decisive. I'd be interested if we have the GPS trackings from, next gen stats, if we can see the time to throw and stuff like that. Can he make quick decisions in like under 2.5 seconds? If he can do that in this game, I'm thrilled.
I agree. And the thing with Tommy DeVito, of course, transferred from Syracuse to Illinois. So Syracuse, we all know, like he had the insurmountable task. No, I'm sorry, not insurmountable, but the tall task of taking over for Eric Dungy. Eric Dungy remains one of my favorite college quarterbacks of all time. Just one of the most exciting quarterbacks in recent memory. I'd say one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the post Deshaun Watson / Lamar Jackson ACC. But again, I say that because Syracuse is a very quarterback driven system. This year at Illinois, though, you see what DeVito could do with a nice run game behind it, behind him playing off the play action with a 69.6 completion percentage. I didn't realize he threw for 2,600 yards, over 200 per game, because when we think about Illinois' offense this year, we think about Chase Brown, because Chase Brown was in the Heisman race for so long this year. So DeVito is a guy that I'm really fascinated by, because you put him behind a strong run game like the 49ers, not that the Niners need any more quarterbacks, but a team with a strong run game. Heck, even the Jets can take a flyer on Tommy DeVito in the late rounds and say whatever they want to do with Zach Wilson in that situation, but have Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Tommy DeVito, because DeVito I think could thrive well in the Jets system with the receivers they had, and most of all with the run game that they had with both James Robinson and of course Brees Hall before he was injured. So DeVito's a guy to watch out for sure. I mean, he's a sleeper that I like a lot. He's playing also in the East West Shrine Bowl too. So DeVito, Syracuse and Illinois legend. I'm excited honestly, for him. I guess moving on to my next quarterback. This guy is, I mean, one of my favorite quarterbacks in all college football, Malik Cunningham. I mean, he's been at Louisville forever, and he's broken almost all of Lamar Jackson's records for like touchdowns and total yardage. He's just probably one of the most exciting quarterbacks in college football. Um, like for the past 2 or 3 years. And again, like this is gonna be the first time we're gonna see him in an All-Star game. So we'll see how he adapts to NFL scheme, to a simplified NFL scheme, a scheme that doesn't rely so heavily on his running talents. And I know we talked about this beforehand, Jackson, but it's like with the firing of Greg Roman for the Ravens, like where do you see like the future of NFL offenses like centered around guys like Malik Cunningham? Because I think he deserves a shot at quarterback. He's definitely proven his accuracy and might as a passer, and I'm excited to see what he does in this game. But what do you think about the future of quarterbacks like Cunningham in NFL offenses?
Oh boy, it's a very loaded question and one that isn't going to be solved in the NFLPA Bowl. I don't know, man. The game always evolves. I think it's not something that you should necessarily hold back, but I think it's gonna take a couple years for like the dust to settle, so to speak, right? To kind of like figure that out. I think we're in kind of an awkward, if you look at the broad span of football, I'm not talking about over the next decade. I'm talking about like the history of the game, like going back over the 150 plus years we've been playing, at least at the collegiate level. I think we're in a very awkward time where like we're seeing guys become more mobile, but we're also seeing offenses get smarter and defenses get smarter, and the analytics is just such a huge part of that also. And it's like, I don't know, I think it's fascinating, man. Like you need a physical run game as much as you do almost ever, but not for the purpose it used to be for ground smash mouth football. It's like to set up the run game, because just watch the wild card round between Los Angeles and Jacksonville. You saw the Chargers lose because they did not have a run game, and they have one of the best running backs in the league. So like I don't know, man, but like you can't exclusively run with a quarterback. Like a lot of yeah, I think we're still figuring it out. It's going to take a little while.
I mean, well said. I'm not saying that Malik Cunningham's appearance in NFLPA will determine the future of NFL offenses, but it's definitely like a good thought exercise now that the Ravens are shifting away from Greg Roman. Because as a Niners fan, I would watch the Ravens play and like, hey, the Niners ran this offense in 2013 with Colin Kaepernick. Like, I'm pretty sure the league's figured this out, but somehow they went as far as they did, and even with Tyler Huntley, a guy that was also a graduate of a non Senior Bowl All Star game, East West Shrine game, back in 2020. So, these games are valuable for guys like Huntley, Anthony Brown, even in the Hula Bowl last year. So I'm excited to see how they use him on Saturday. I'm excited to see how they use Malik the Freak Cunningham.
Absolutely, man. No, me too. By the way, I really thought we would see Anthony's first start, but that obviously did not work out. But it worked out better than Trace McSorley, I would say. So You can just watch a couple Cardinals games to get that sense. So.
Yeah, so are we moving on to running backs? Do you have any more quarterbacks to go, or are we moving to running backs now?
I do not. We can go ahead and move on to running backs. There was a guy that I think we were both interested in, but I'll let you have him. Darius Haggins from Virginia State. You want to kind of go over everything with
Yeah,
him?
sure. His scouting profile, Virginia State running back. So let me preface this. In the CIAA, there was a running back that was taking not just black college football by storm, but Division II by storm in the state of Virginia in the CIAA. It was not Darius Higgins, it was Jada Byers. But had it been any other year, had Jada Byers played in any other conference, Darius Higgins would be the guy. I honestly wish they gave him more of a workload, only 189 carries. But he's just honestly, I think he's a specimen, like 4.4 speed at 6 foot 210. Like he's not a smaller back that you'd expect to have like, great speed like a Deuce Vaughn, but he has that speed at 6 foot 210, so he has the durability, which is why I kind of wish that Virginia State gave him more carries. There wasn't much footage I can find, but on the footage I can find on his runs, he's just when he gets to the edge, it is hard to catch up. Excuse me, hard to catch up to him, and he's just able to hit the edge quick. For Virginia State, so that's the book on Darius Higgins. I'm excited to see him play, with that 4.4 speed. I think there's definitely like a lot of ways that they can use him. Which I was gonna say like let's say jet sweeps in this game, but like pre-snap motions, I'm pretty sure are like forbidden. But I'll let you say your piece on Higgins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all sweeps are out of the picture for this one. I'm pretty sure at least if it's like similar to like Senior Bowl rules and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of compare him to I think the best similarity by far is going to be really the only guy in recent history to come out of Virginia State, right? Trenton Cannon. So I think it's impressive that he's doing what he's doing with doing it, or impressive to have over 100 yards per game in that offense, over 5.4 yards per carry, or right at 5.4 yards per carry. So it's cool to see Darius Higgins. Not gonna lie, hard to find like tape on him or film or even highlights or anything like that. So it's not like we can really give an in-depth analysis breakdown. Obviously, we're not at the games for Virginia State, so a lot of people that are a lot more educated. So I'll leave it to them to do the talking on him. But it's just something we want to highlight because clearly he went to Virginia State and he's at the NFLPA Bowl. So clearly there's something there that he's doing right and working pretty well. I'm going to go with a guy on a much bigger platform. In fact, they made the national championship, even if they didn't participate that much. Omar and Jackson, the running back from TCU, a little bit of on the shorter end, right? Like just a shed over 5'8", 209 pounds. My only complaint besides height is that like there is a lot of tread on the tires. Like he's been playing college football since 2017. A lot of times with those guys, you like to see, you don't mind seeing them come out after 3 years, because you can squeeze another good like year or two before really that 25-year-old like threshold that we see, where you kind of, I don't want to say fall off a cliff, but production goes drastically down once you typically enter that second contract, right? So I'm really excited to see him, come into this draft. Obviously, objectively a successful season. Definitely split a lot of carries with guys like Zach Evans and stuff like that over the years, but looking forward to seeing what he does in this game. I know it was kind of an emotional ending to the year, not only with the loss of the national championship, but he grew up about 5 minutes away from SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, so I'm sure it was very coming full circle for him to play in that game at that specific location. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Amari to see. He's got his master's degree in business analytics, so I'm not really that worried if the whole football thing doesn't work out either. Like he's just such a smart dude. Like I think it well, but it speaks to how smart of a guy he is.
I mean, I think that just shows the Kamari just shows that there's like something for everyone in this running back group. You got power backs, you got guys that are great at catching passes and everything. So I'm excited to see him now that you mentioned, because I of course overshadowed by different backs. I mean TCU had a strong run game, but he wasn't exactly the main guy as a contributor. Of course, Zach Evans like the year before. So definitely excited to see. My guy is another. I mean, he's not a small guy, but this is a guy that I like to call the Christian McCaffrey of the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic or Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, for Shepherd, the Rams. And seeing his highlight film, he moves amazingly in space. He's just got great moves in space. Like he is so hard to catch one on one. He can beat you with the deep ball to the backfield. He's dangerous on the edge. And just the way that Shepard used him on a bunch of wheel routes, like he had just a great year for Shepard. Like his stats this year, like Shepard, of course, made the semifinals before they fell to the Colorado School of Mines. But I mean, this year for Shepard, 1,863 yards, 19 touchdowns. Also caught 56 passes for 589 yards. Like you say, Jackson, you can't catch, you can't play. And also had 19 kick returns for 546 yards. So this is a guy that nearly had 3,000 all-purpose yards in the year. So definitely the Christian McCaffrey of the PSAC. I think that the NFL teams will use him in a McCaffrey-like role, split him out wide because he obviously proves he's a deep, not a deep threat, but more of it. He's like more than an intermediate threat or more than a short threat passing the ball with 10 yards per catch on 56 catches. So I think he'll be split out wide in this game, and I think that like whether it be Coach Fisher or Coach George will find ways to use him and get him out in space. And I think Ronnie Brown like Ronnie Brown kind of reminds me of not just Christian McCaffrey, but like a Danny Woodhead when it comes to like their like origin, like Danny Woodhead coming from Division II school. I think it was like Chadron State Division II school, and then going unnoticed really, and then just catching onto a roster just because he's just so versatile and you can just use him in so many ways and he's tough as nails. So I'm excited for Ronnie Brown, not the Auburn and Dolphins running back, but the Shepherd running back. So I'm excited.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah, no, me too. It's gonna be exciting to see all of these guys, regardless. I don't want, anyone to think we're like skipping over anyone else, right? Or anything, but these backs are gonna be fun to watch. I think the run game is like particularly fascinating, just because you can simplify the passing game a lot, but it's harder to simplify the run game, just because it's not that it's more simple, but I mean it isn't exactly like, not all these guys come from Shanahan systems where like it's already overly complex, right? If they have the superior talent and they're at a smaller school, typically you can just run simple things, and if you have the better hat on a hat, then it's not a big deal. So looking forward to seeing them in a lot of these guys in a more competitive environment, right? There's going to be a lot of these guys coming over from a Virginia State or from an Albion, as one of the receivers are going against the best competition they've ever faced. So it's going to be cool to see that. I'll move
Really,
on
really quick,
to my.
really quick, Jackson.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know I have like a few more running, but I wanted to highlight all the small school guys before I move to receivers.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Go
sub
for it.
FCS or FCS and below. One guy I liked a lot. Another guy I liked a lot. I'm just so excited for this running back group. Owen Wright of Monmouth. He's a tough inside runner. He had 16 touchdowns and 72 carries. And interestingly enough, he was a first team All CAA at fullback, but Phil Steele picked him as a fourth team All America at halfback. So he's got great versatility. He took wildcat snaps. He catches the ball out of the backfield, and his highlight reel features special teams, which again, like that's where most guys catch on. We all know about Terrell Davis, but Owen Wright as well. Just like the possibilities of the inside runner, and of course, is like a fullback too, as like a hybrid type player. I'm excited to see what's in store for him, and just like whether they put him at the fullback position to lead block, or the tough situations, like the tough third and ones that they get the ball to right. Um, just great. Of course, Monmouth is, it's a running back factory. I mean, Pete Guerrero, from Monmouth, he had I think almost 2,000 yards back in 2019. Was a Walter Payton finalist. So just just a great tradition lately of running backs. And then next, I have two more running backs. Or no, one more after that. I have Emmanuel Wilson of Fort Valley State. He's a great power back, 6'1", 220 pounds, hits the hole quick. If you saw Emmanuel Wilson during the Red Tails Classic, over 200 yards on 20 carries, just like wore down the Tuskegee defense on national TV, had 1,371 yards and 17 touchdowns for Fort Valley State. 6'1", 220, kind of a longer, bigger back. Kind of reminds me, I'm not saying this is a career trajectory, but reminds me of like Daniel Thomas for the Dolphins. A guy like Daniel Thomas, of course, came to Kansas State as a quarterback, was converted to a running back, and had a great career that led him to be a first round draft pick for the Dolphins. But just like a longer back, and he's just so hard to bring down, and he just hits holes quickly. Like once he hits the middle and hits his full stride, like good luck catching him if you're a safety or linebacker for Fort Valley State.
Fort Valley State with the elite prospects out there. No, but absolutely, like all of these, it's really cool that they are involving so many smaller school guys. Now you do see like teams, other games like the Senior Bowl, like the Trent Bowl, like really all of them, like they will find talent, like the NFL will find you, and that applies to these All-Star games too. But it seems like I don't want to say a disproportionate amount, but it seems like the NFLPA Bowl, like they really prioritize that. Right? You can see that that's a priority for them. It doesn't have to be talent at a level that they just can't ignore. It's like, no, they're going out and like getting some like UDFAs out there and giving them a little bit more exposure when it's not, a Quinn Miners or like a guaranteed, NFL shot. So I'll go with my first receiver, polar opposite, Mitchell Tinsley. He's a wide receiver, not much of a slot guy from Penn State. Western Kentucky transfer. So if you watch Bailey Zappi highlights, you've probably seen plenty of Mitchell. I mentioned he's more of a wide guy, 495 snaps wide as opposed to 186 in the slot. Did have about 23 punt return reps this past year, so you could see him in the special teams game, depending on how physical they end up going with that. 78 targets, 51 receptions, about 11.3 yards per catch, 10 contested catches, and 5 touchdowns. Also, 103.4 passer rating when targeted, which is not bad. Helped fill the void of Jahan Dotson more than anything else. Used more of a short receiver, so think like the short wide game. 30 targets, 26 receptions, 234 yards, and a couple touchdowns when targeted in the short. So the 0 to 10 yard range mark from the line of scrimmage, as opposed to like 23 targets and 188 yards for medium, 17 targets and 116 yards for deep. Like, 26 receptions, 234. That's about as efficient as it gets for the short passing game. 117 of those yards coming after the catch. So pretty cool to see. Excited to see what Mitchell Tinsley will do. Got a pretty busy couple weeks. He's going to the Senior Bowl after this. So a lot going on for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, like West Kentucky, that system, it's kind of interesting, like having that like diversity. I guess, yeah, diversity system being with Western Kentucky on the extreme pass happy end of things. Like, but Penn State a lot more balanced with Sean Clifford throwing to him. With Sean Clifford also playing in this game, the Rose Bowl must be getting old for Sean Clifford. Playing there a couple weeks ago and now playing there now in this game. So I'm excited to see Tinsley too. Like, definitely an end guy, 6'1", 205, like you said. But yeah, Penn State, I mean, lately, like the receivers they've been coming out with, I know like Allen Robinson isn't as recent, but Allen Robinson, of course, Jahan Dotson, like you mentioned. So yeah, definitely a lot of great receiving talent at Penn State. And Tinsley did make a good decision in transferring to Western Kentucky, or from Western Kentucky to Penn State. As much as I hate to mention seeing these G5s getting poached as talent, so I have way less receivers than Jackson. I'm not sure if Jackson has more, but I only have two this time, two small school guys. The first guy I'm just going to mention briefly because there's not much film on him. We got Bailey Edwards for Albion. I know you mentioned Albion. I'm not sure if that was one of your guys, Jackson. No,
It
okay.
was not, but it was just one of the schools I at least wanted to mention because I wasn't sure if I mean I should have figured that you were going to get to him since you're covering a lot
Yeah.
more of the sub FBS guys, but just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, but Bailey Edwards is a guy that's well traveled in his career. Started off at Central Michigan, then went to Saginaw Valley State, and then to Albion out of the Division III Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association. Good size, 6'3", 216. If there's a jump ball, he's gonna get it. 21 catches, 4 touchdowns on his 21 catches for 337 yards. So I'm excited to see how they use him. I know like last year there's a guy who in this game in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl who did not have a lot of catches in his career, mostly because the system he played in, but he went up there and was a deep threat and just got some good jump balls, and that was Michael Cooper of Navy. So maybe Bailey Edwards can play that Michael Cooper role, a guy whose stats don't jump out at you initially. I mean, he's got more catches and touchdowns and yards than I do in my collegiate career, but to scouts, it might not jump out. But I mean, I think his stature and everything will help him. Now to a guy I have more to say on the receiver end, TJ Luther of Gardner Webb and Wofford. I think he's going to make such a great potential at least on special teams, because he is a dangerous kick returner, averaged 25 yards a return, 725 yards on 29 kick returns throughout his career. Against Georgia Southern, against FBS team, 6 catches for 164 yards. At Wofford, he had, I think, 30 yards. And Wofford, they had a strong play action game because when Luther was there, they ran a shotgun option offense. So he's a deep threat on the play action. He averaged over 20 yards per catch at Wofford. At Gardner Webb, a little bit less, but I mean, he's 6'1", 180. And the guy that I think of when it comes to like special teams and being a receiver like that, I think of a guy like Andre Roberts. And it seems like every other year, every few years, Andre Roberts goes in the Pro Bowl as like the kick returner. A guy that's just been in the league forever and ever and just will not leave the league. I see TJ Luther being a guy like that. And just shout out to Gardner Webb for the year that they had. They won the Big South they won the Big South and got to the FCS playoffs for the first time, and just absolutely rocked it this year. I mean, and I think they won their first round playoff game too. So shout out to the running Bulldogs of Gardner Webb out of Boiling Springs, North Carolina.
Absolutely. I have one more receiver that I'll briefly touch on, more on a sentimental note than a scouting note. Jason Brownlee, the wide receiver from Southern Miss. Pay attention to really anything Southern Miss, especially after really their most successful season in a few years. He is gonna, I don't want to say he's gonna struggle, is gonna go against some really good competition though in this game as far as the defensive back room goes. Played in either JUCO or CUSA, so probably hasn't seen the talent that he will face in one-on-ones. But something cool, we share the exact same birthday and actually grew up about a half hour apart in Mississippi, at least for the first few years of my life. So pretty cool to see Jason out there and hopefully represent USM pretty well. So SMTTT.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, SMTT had a good year. Of course, Frank Gore stole a lot of the headlines with the year that he had running the ball, especially in the bowl game and the Lending Tree Bowl. But I mean, yeah, like a great scheme at Southern Miss, and they're on their way back to the top, especially in the Sun Belt too, a league that's harder to compete in than Conference USA. So shout out to Southern Miss and the Eagles. Going to tight ends now. I'm gonna start off with a guy that it doesn't pain me really. I joke around, but it doesn't pain me to mention this guy, but Kyle Patterson of Air Force, just a really good tight end. He's got great size. He's 6'6", and of course, he's a great blocker at tight end. I mean, he's a great blocker, and I mean with the option offense. But this year, I mean, he had the hype. The hype was really behind him as a tight end this year, or heading into this year. He's 6'6". Just a big target. I mean, of course, he does well in the play action game, running routes or just being a deep threat in the play action game. Trying to pull up his stats. The Air Force Academy is not organized with their stats. What a shame. But Kyle Patterson is a great blocking tight end, but I'm excited to see whether they use him out on the end, in an X position, where they split him out, because he provides matchup problems for sure for the Air Force Academy. So I'm excited to see. And again, like I mentioned with Michael Cooper, like don't let the stats fool you. Don't let the lack of targets fool you. But these guys, they are great targets for their quarterbacks.
No, absolutely, especially in that Air Force offense. It's not exactly an air raid offense. So when you do throw to guys, it's probably going to be more along the tight end room. You're probably not going to find many deep routes or fade routes or anything to the outside. Like it's going to be up the seam, a lot of times in between the hashes probably when you're completing these passes. So anytime Kyle Patterson can see that, I'm not sure exactly what his volume looked like, but I'm pretty sure he has a pretty solid run block grade, considering if you're a tight end, you play for Air Force, you're not gonna be seeing the field that much if you're not good at run blocking. So that's absolutely something that'll be appreciated. I'll go with my tight end that I wanted to talk about here. I'm gonna go with Christian Sims from Bowling Green. 6'1", 234. Drew some similarities from Jim Nagy to current Buffalo tight end Quentin Morris, actually. All but one reception and 3 targets actually came below 20 yards. So pretty frequently, as you can imagine, used in the short passing game, right? You're not going to see too many post routes or anything too deep. Lined up mostly as an inline guy, right? 374 snaps attached to the offensive line as opposed to 141 in the slot. Did have a lot of reps at punt coverage. So if you see special teams be a factor in this game, you can definitely see him on the punt coverage in this. Had a 58.6 PFF run block grade as opposed to a 62.1 pass block grade by PFF, something that I always look at because that's definitely hard to evaluate, especially at a school like Bowling Green. One more thing I want to note, went to Norcross High School, very famed for producing NFL talent. Alvin Kamara most recently, Lorenzo Carter, Max Garcia, Jake Camarda, also another recent graduate, and a Jason Kroom, all alumni of Norcross High School. So let's hope Christian can be next in line. That's a pretty Jake Camarda and Alvin Kamara and Lorenzo Carter. Those are like pretty good names to be going behind. So.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Bowling Green too had a strong season. Resurgent season. They made their first bowl, I think, since I think it was like 2015 to 2015 at the time, GoDaddy Bowl. So just a great year for them. Unfortunately, lost in the Quick Lane Bowl, which
Man, you brought back memories with the GoDaddy Bowl. I forgot all about that.
yeah. And the funny thing was, like, we already mentioned that bowl. It's just been through so many corporate changes, so we already mentioned it during the podcast. But you may like listeners may not have known, but if you're a diehard, you knew we mentioned it. But yeah, like I mean, just a great year for them. I know they had Matt McDonald swinging the ball. It's a great quarterback, so I'm excited to see him work with other quarterbacks. Going on to my next tight end, it was like it's a package deal with these two tight ends. I know I talked about Kamari Everett for Bethune-Cookman. It's enough that we talk about what's happening with Bethune-Cookman. Let's talk about the players that earn their right on the field. Let's talk about the players that earn their right on the field to playing games like this. Kamari Everett was just an absolute, just an absolute monster last year. I know he was an All-American selection last year, but it's like when I described him in the Hula Bowl, which I don't think he played in the Hula Bowl that much. I didn't really see him 6'6", 250. Like you throw a ball up to Everett, like he's gonna catch it. Like that was his film. He had 52 catches, 888 yards in 2021 and 10 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns and 39 catches this year. So again, I think Everett's a guy like Mike Gesicki, who you just throw it up to Gesicki and he's just gonna catch it. Like Gesicki's got great jump ball skills, not so much great gritty skills, but great jump ball skills. And going from talking about gritties to talking about Thomas Greeny from UAlbany, another guy, 6'6", 255, just a 6'5", 255, just a huge target. 50 catches, 693 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Against Baylor, he had 3 catches for 57 yards, including a 33-yard catch. So against solid competition, he was on it. So I'm excited too because I think Greeny, you can also split him out wide, just being 6'5", 255, and just create those matchup problems and everything. Another great jump ball tight end from Albany. The Great Danes producing a great tight end.
Absolutely, man. No, Air Force and UAlbany are, hey, I always say if you're gonna come out with more small school talent or more raw talent, tight end is the place to do it, man. You always see like these international kids that like haven't played much football. You put them at tight end just because, like, why not? You've also seen it with lots of quarterbacks, like oh man, I am completely blanking on his name, but he was a quarterback at Buffalo. And then moved to tight end. Actually,
Tyree Jackson.
yeah, Tyree Jackson.
State.
Tyree Jackson. You saw Felipe Franks transfer to tight end. So all these guys that are like athletic, but maybe just not working out at their old position or something like that. Hey, put them there. So Kyle Patterson and Thomas Green certainly have the athleticism for that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the offensive line. I'm going to go Trevor Downing, the center from Iowa State, as my first rep. 6'3", 300. So definitely not a small guy being out there in the middle and the interior of the offensive line. Pretty even in run blocking and pass blocking, a 55.5 for each, according to PFF. Only allowed 1 sack, 4 hits, did allow 18 hurries all year, but still only 1 sack, which is really what matters at the end of the day. On the Big 12 Commissioner's Honor Roll, which is something that is, always awesome to see, especially from the guy who's going to be changing your protection and all that, right? That always want to see that in your center. And then 38 career starts, so certainly not lacking the experience. Not like he really had to wait his turn, right, to play. I mean, the guy's been starting for like over 3 years now, so certainly has a fair amount of experience to go with. So hopefully Trevor can show some of his wit that he has in the interior, and move on. And I'm excited to see them in this passing game. So I'm sure if San Francisco is hurting a little bit in the interior line, I'm sure Brock Purdy wouldn't mind having his old center back. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be much problems in the interior for the Niners, but one can
I'm not
hope.
worried about that's one thing I'm not worried about with San Francisco. So
But yeah, I don't have much research on the line. I just have quick shout outs for a couple of players. We got Joey Fisher from Shepherd. You invite you invite Ronnie Brown, the running back. You got to invite the lineman Joey Fisher from the Rams. It's there's a couple Rams helmets. You would have thought it's a Rams game. A couple Rams helmets in Southern California. Would have thought it's a Rams home game. But Fisher had the accolades just go on and on and on. Just a bunch of All American honors this year, a few honorable mention honors last year. I mean, just a sturdy lineman. He was on an offensive line that helped Shepard rank second in the country in offense in 489 yards, seventh in pass offense. So he's great in pass pro because their quarterback Tyson Badgett had a great year for Shepard. Was invited to the Hula Bowl. He was invited, but Joey Fisher beat him out to earn the honor of being the first Shepard player to earn a Hula Bowl invite. And I just also want to shout out Brent Lang from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Just a small school getting some love out there. And who would have thought that this Minnesota school would get a chance at the Rose Bowl, compared to another, Minnesota school. Um, but if you would have thought that there would be a Minnesota school playing in a game at the Rose Bowl, you would have thought it would have been the Gophers. But hence here we are. It's the Bulldogs in Minnesota Duluth.
yeah, definitely not what I was definitely what not what I would have been expecting if you had told me that a little bit earlier on in the season. So, but you know what? Nonetheless, excited to see Duluth be represented out there. So, in relation to Duluth Trading Co., Omar, are we familiar?
I'm familiar with Jackson. It's a city, bro. It is not a corporation. This is a city that is in the United States. There is no
Yeah.
relation.
Hey, fair enough. Always worth an ask. That's the only time I've ever heard of Duluth, though, with no offense to the beautiful city of Duluth, I'm sure. So I will move on to I think we'll go defensive line here, right? Yeah, we'll go defensive line. I'm gonna go with the opposite side of oh man, I am blanking on the Iowa State rivalry name, but I'm gonna go with the edge rusher
Cyhawk.
from Iowa.
Cyhawk.
There we go. There we go. John Wagoneer, 6'5", 269, the biggest defensive lineman actually playing in this game, coming on the edge, not in the interior. 25 tackles, 14 of them being solo, 3.5 tackles for loss, a couple of them being sacks, and 3 pass deflections. Received the Coaches Appreciation Award and academic all Big Ten honors. Omar, he lettered in soccer in high school. You can really see that footwork pay off on when he's edge rushing. I mean, it's phenomenal to watch, and looking forward to seeing John do his thing. 6'5" edge rusher, man, that's going to be a mismatch for just about anyone. So looking forward to seeing him really overpower a lot of these guys, hopefully.
Absolutely. And again, it's kind of sad that Wagoneer kind of got overshadowed, of course, by Jack Campbell, the Butkus Award winner. Congrats to him. The heart and soul of not just the defense, but that team. If we were watching Iowa football the whole year. And then of course the defensive backfield, who in the Music City Bowl, 2 pick sixes for touchdowns, in a 21-0 victory. So kind of overshadowed on the line, but I'm excited to see Wagoneer because I mean, of course, Iowa's produced some good talent on the offensive line too. That's what you think when you think about Linetown, Iowa, but also a guy like Adrian Claiborne that stuck around in the league for a while for Iowa. So I'm excited to see what he does too. I mean, line play is not always what we pay attention to All-Star games, as we'll find out, but I'm definitely excited. So going on to I'm gonna stay on the outside. I'm gonna be on the outside with a hybrid guy. I'm gonna kind of talk about them together. I got and this kind of guesses my linebackers, but I got Malik Ham out of Lafayette. get some Patriot League love. I know a couple weekends ago, you saw Liam Anderson and Tim DeMorat representing the PL in the Hula Bowl so well. DeMorat even threw a touchdown, and DeMorat's going to be in the Shrine Bowl, which that's another recording for another time. But Malik Ham from Lafayette, insanely versatile. I don't usually watch lineman highlight films or like enjoy watching them because like I played corner in high school. Like I like defensive backs, I like skill guys. But make no mistake, being on the line is like a skill. But the amount of ways that they played Malik Ham, I almost said Malik Cunningham, Malik Ham, they played him in the interior. They played him as a DN in a 3-4 look. They played him as a DN in a 4-3 look. He had stand-up rushes. His strongest feature of his pass rush is his speed. And he's just able to just get around linemen just without having to use a move. And he's just got great lean to his pass rush. Like he can lean into linemen with his inside shoulder and just get to the quarterback. And again, like I mentioned, got playing time off the ball as well. Just a well-rounded career. 30 and a half career sacks, 48 TFLs, a 4-time all Patriot League performer. So this guy is special. I'm excited to see him. And he's got multiple block kicks, which is a trend you'll see with a lot of these guys on defense. Like just the speed off the edge. And with these block kicks, like they can be difference makers on special teams right away. Like, and we know special teams wins games, like the Niners in the divisional playoff last year against the Packers. Like special teams makes or breaks games, on big stages. So Malik Ham representing the Patriot League. I am so excited.
Absolutely, man. No, special teams really does make or break games. It also makes or break you making a roster in the NFL at this level, right? Like if you're a day 3 pick or below or a UDFA, you're going to be making that roster based off of your ability to contribute on special teams and even beyond that, really. So very excited to see a guy that's a proven talent on special teams, because not all these guys do, because they're the best players on their own teams and you want to risk injury for special teams. So I'll go ahead and move on to the linebacker core. I'm going to go with Dylan Doyle, a guy who I've actually gotten to see play in person, the linebacker from Baylor, 6'2", 244. Omar, he is the first player in Big 12 history to earn all conference honors for both the offensive and defensive side of the balls. So at linebacker and at fullback, had a team leading 90 tackles this past year, a pair of interceptions and pass breakups to go along with it. You would like to see a few more TFLs, but it's not like he can't do it. Last year he had, in 2021 rather, 8.5 tackles for loss on the year. So kind of traded the TFLs for a couple picks and more production in the passing game, I guess, as opposed to blitzing. But Dylan Doyle is certainly a guy who's capable, and anytime you can have a guy who can be a makeshift fullback, he's probably not like an NFL talent at fullback itself, but hey, you can add a little bit of depth while supplying the linebacker position. So that Dylan Doyle is your guy if you're in need of that.
Exactly. I think versatility is just such a huge theme. Whether you can shift guys around,
Absolutely.
guys, whether they're off ball guys in a 4-3 scheme or off ball in a 3-4 scheme, or like guys that like play the interior. I think like just getting guys like moving them around like different linebacker positions, like getting them practice in those positions is so huge and so important. Just to see what they can do. Speaking of another outside linebacker, I got Titus Leo of Wagner. Now Wagner's had a rough go over the past couple seasons in the NEC. But Leo has definitely been such a bright spot for that team and for that program. I know this year they got attention for losing by badly to Syracuse, but Leo as an outside linebacker. So I went through the hassle of watching the 33, actually almost 34-minute highlight video of LIU versus Wagner, that game on a Friday night that got attention from the Sickos committee as being the Sickos game of the week. But in that game, I saw Leo. I mean, Leo is a guy that great speed on the edge. He's 245 pounds, 6'4", 245. Just a great edge rusher. And again, he's a guy that's similar to Ham, similar build, similar type of player, where it's like they have that speed to just like get around linemen. Now, I don't think the LIU Sharks are the best measure of pro competition, but that's who was in front of him, and he just looked really solid just on his pass rush. He has 6 career forced fumbles to go along with 40 career TFLs, including he had 32 and a half in his past couple seasons. And he also blocks kicks. He has 2 block kicks. So again, like I said, that speed off the edge is evident through the block kicks, and it's evident through, watching him play. So I'm excited to see what Leo does for Wagner. I think if you're in Staten Island, you definitely gotta hop on a plane at LaGuardia and just go all the way to LA just to see your guy play in the Rose Bowl Stadium because it's a once in a lifetime thing.
Well, I'm sure all of Long Island is doing that, so I'll make sure to avoid traffic
Staten Island,
for
Staten Island,
LaGuardia.
Staten Island,
Staten or not, yeah, not Long Island.
Long
Staten
Island,
Island. My
Jackson.
bad.
You're gonna have to
Yeah.
cut that out. You're gonna have to cut that out.
Yeah, you can't confuse the two. So I'm sorry if you're from the local area and I offended you with that. So I'm gonna go move on to the DB's room, who really is honestly a lot of times my favorite to talk about is the DBs. I'm gonna go with the free safety Trevon Flowers from Tennessee. Man, he's what's fun to watch as a safety. He great speed, great instincts. He is a ball hawk. Not going to be the more like downhill blitzing safety like a Jamal Adams or a Buda Baker or something like that. That's great for an all-star game though, because all you ask really is for great instincts and speed. So I think his talents will shine in based off of all-star game rules. And looking forward to seeing him, hey, just play some cover two. And I think if you throw it to the wrong side of the field, he definitely has the speed and the capability to go up and get the pick. So size isn't really too much of a concern. Just want to see him be physical. That's really all that I look for him to be himself as far as being a ball hawk, and then I look for him to be physical would really be the icing on the cake for this one, because he was not avoiding it, but really lacking that Sean Taylor type feeling, if you get what I'm saying, as far as the physicality of safeties. You need to see that with we're losing a linebacker pretty much to have a fifth defensive back. So you need your safeties to be more physical now, especially in the run game. And so that's where really the only box I'd like to see checked from him.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the league they want more like Jamal Adams types, especially too if you're gonna play in the NFC West against like teams like the Niners or
Right,
play,
right.
the NFC in the AFC North against like the Ravens, teams that still employ fullbacks. Even like the Chiefs sometimes too will run it down your throat, surprisingly. I know they had Anthony Sherman on the roster for a number of years, and then like they went to Michael Burton too. So it's like, you want physical safeties that'll get into the second level and make those plays. And now's the time for it too, because you'll see those looks like that. You'll see two back sets probably with guys like Owen Wright playing fullback and lead blocking and everything. And like guys like, Thomas Greeny or Kyle Patterson playing H back, so you'll see those sets too. You'll see like more of a head-on run game. So I'm gonna share my last outside linebacker briefly. Got a Division II school. We got Ashland. We got Michael Ayers representing Ashland, 181 tackles and 22.5 tackles for loss in the past 2 seasons. It's just great to see again. Like we sound like broken records, but it's just great to see schools like this get a spotlight on national TV and see their players just get a chance to play at an iconic venue like the Rose Bowl. And of course, Ashland in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, hard to make many connections to the Rose Bowl game or stadium. So with my first defensive back, I'm gonna go with a guy, Keenan Isaac of Alabama State, 6'3", 190 pounds. Reminds me of like a Brandon Browner, just a tall guy, just tall physical guy playing quarterback. In his freshman year, he had 7 tackles for loss in his freshman year in 2018, 22 career pass breakups, just a lanky guy with great ball skills. And if you need him, he can get in the backfield and make those plays. He can react to toss sweeps or quick screens out on the edge quickly and shed blocks like that. So I'm excited to see Keenan Isaac, just a lanky guy. I think he can be a sleeper because, a sleeper in the East West Shrine Bowl last year, Jacoby Durant, right? Jacoby Durant, rookie of the year candidate, defensive rookie of the year candidate for the Rams, just had so many solid moments on a team that, we kind of like lost focus on throughout the year as they faded. But Jacoby Durant was such a bright spot from South Carolina State. So just seeing another great defensive back product from the HBCU is just so great to see. It really is. And Isaac is no stranger to the Rose Bowl, as Alabama State played UCLA there earlier this year, and he had a pass breakup. So
Absolutely, man. I will I really only have one more guy both in the defensive back room. Is that, do you want to go with one DB? I'll go with my last one. And
yeah, so you have one more DB because I just have one more DB as well.
oh shoot. Oh well, that works out good. Well, I'll go with my DB. I'll go
Yeah.
with Quindell Johnson, the safety from Memphis. He is really a guy that also, for different reasons, but I think also is well suited towards all-star games, not unlike Trayvon Flowers. Except this time he is the physical safety that you love seeing come downhill. He does get at least according to the Draft Network. I haven't watched enough of him to see for myself firsthand, but according to the Draft Network, does get a little not confused but easily tricked, right, with blocking schemes and all that. It doesn't really have hasn't really shown the wit to maneuver around that. That's something that at least, applies more at the linebacker position, I guess. But something I heard Luke Kuechly talk about is like, hey, half of the NFL is trying to figure out, like, how do you get around your block, right? And it's no longer you have the physical capabilities to do it on your own. You kind of have to get creative of how to get around that. So this is a game that is very simplified, right? So looking forward to hopefully seeing him do that and just be a downhill runner. If he can just get a couple stops in the run game and get there pretty quickly and be the downhill, like, physical safety that he is, then I'm happy. So also probably going to see a lot of 4-2-5. So I'm curious where he's going to be as far as if it's going to be cover 3, if it's going to be more of a cover 1 scenario, kind of where they put him in. So excited for Quindell Johnson out of Memphis.
Yeah, and when you think about Memphis, you definitely don't think about defense. Honestly, like you think about, guys like Paxton Lynch, you think about Gerald Henderson, or sorry, not Gerald Henderson, and basketball player, you think of Daryl Henderson, you think of Calvin Austin, Anthony Miller, the list goes on, right? So it's refreshing to see a guy from Memphis, really show off the defensive aspect of that team and a team that dominated in their bowl game against the defense was on center stage against Utah State in the first responder bowl. So going on with my last defensive back, I got Darius Gaines from Western Colorado. Now, if you're even an NFL casual or even an FCF fan, you know about Western Colorado because of Austin Eckler. So they have another pro prospect. And I like Gaines a lot too because again, like another physical guy. He's 6'3" at corner. Sorry, not 6'3", 6'2", 200 corner for Western Colorado. Had 3 career block kicks. Seeing his tape though, he just has great ball skills. Like he will find a way to get that ball out of the receiver's hands after first, like not even after first contact, but like when the ball is contested. I can't really find the right term. When the ball's contested, he will find a way to get the ball out of the receiver's hands. And I'm excited to see just him win those one-on-one battles for Western Colorado because yes, there's receivers for Division I schools. Yes, there's receivers from Power 5 conferences, but I think Gaines can win those one-on-one battles, just being a physical corner. And of course, representing Western Colorado well, beginning to be an NFL factory out there in the Rocky Mountains, so be careful. But Darius Gaines from Western Colorado, definitely one to watch.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. He sure is. And Omar, as much as I'd love to break down the long snappers for this game, anything else that you want to go ahead and mention or before we hop off?
No, so we got Dalton God. I mean, I'll just make a quick mention. Rob
Yeah.
Soderholm, just the perennial All-American for VMI. Again, just both long snappers are, they play for smaller schools. Of course, Dalton Godfrey for South Dakota. It's interesting, I guess South Dakota fans can hold it over their South Dakota State counterparts and North Dakota State counterparts and even North Dakota counterparts that they don't have players playing this game, but they have Dalton Godfrey, who was an All-American and academic All-American for 2 consecutive seasons. So great in the classroom and great on the field, of course, a long snapper. So you typically don't notice long snappers in these All-Star games, but what they did in the Hula Bowl that I thought was interesting, all the microphone fell, with all the specialists, they rotated them on the teams. So I think that's a genius idea for all All-Star games if you just rotate guys to get as many reps as possible. So for Soderholm and Godfrey, hopefully they have good snaps and good enough reps. So I'm excited for both guys, but that's all I have to add.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm excited for the NFLPA Bowl. Don't know how much I'll catch because it is my fiance Izzy's birthday on the 28th, so probably going to be celebrating her 24th birthday during the game. But you know what? Definitely have to catch a little bit afterward. So
You just had to mention that. Were you obligated by the lady to mention
I
that?
was not. I was not. But you know
Ooh,
what? It's
okay.
it's
That's what you say. That's what you say. But all
absolutely,
right.
man.
Yeah, I'm wishing Izzy a happy birthday too. Until next time, everyone, enjoy the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl and peace, love, and soul. What a rhyme.